perfectly legal loophole that feels completely illegal when you use it. Story 1. I saw a concert at a venue that didn't let you leave and re-enter once you were inside. I was telling the merch guy I wanted to buy a poster but not have to hold it all night. He said, just say you have asthma and you need your inhaler. If it's a medical issue, they're not allowed to ask you any questions. I was hesitant because I really didn't want to not get let back in. And he was like, come on, come with me. He goes to the door, tells security, hey, this kid has asthma. He needs to go get his inhaler. I took off running, not even thinking about the connection, brought the poster back to my car, walked back to the side entrance. They stopped me, and I was like, I was just in there. And they were like, let him go. I actually still feel a little guilty about it, but it definitely worked. Gave the merch guy a fist bump. Story 2. I install windows and trim them out. My work throws out scrap boards that are too short to fit on our very limited lumber rack. I pull them from the dumpster and bring them home, because free is free. When we're working in my area, I trim the window from what I have in my garage. My company reimburses me in lineal feet. This is how I get free, full-length boards. Edit to clarify as best I can. We don't have the space to store a lot of boards, so if we have a say 4 cutoff, it generally goes in the dumpster unless someone wants it. Someone always takes those for a shelf or something, or for a job the next day that we know we can use it for. I want it because I have used for 4 boards. It's encouraged for us to take home cutoffs, but not full 16 or 8 boards. We save those. It's unfortunate we can't store those cutoffs because they're often all we need. I bring those when we need them. My boss says that once it hits the dumpster, it's mine. I supply 4 boards from my own house. I'm owed 16 LF. I take home a full 16-footer because I'm swimming in scraps, but sometimes need full boards. My boss is aware this is dysfunctional, as we are working on improving our lumber storage. Hope this clears up. Also, I'm thankful I work for a small company with a good owner who is a human being. Seems like a lot of you work at places that. I'm sorry for that. This was a lighthearted comment about a loophole in my job that barely even fits the question, but I thought was funny and never thought would be top comment. It's fairly pointless anyway, because my boss genuinely cares about us and has just told me to grab an extra board if I really need one for my house anyway. Story 3. Yesterday, I went to the pharmacy at a place known for its mile-long receipts filled with coupons. 1 coupon was for 2 off any item. So I got a 2 bottle of water, and they just let me take it for free. Felt amazing. Story 4. There's a Tractor Supply the Store online hack, where you can search any store in the U.S. on a website, find your item cheaper than your local store, add it to cart, and then right before you pay, change the pickup location to your local store. The price stays the same as the cheaper store. I saved a ton of money on stall mats for my home gym this way. Story 5. Getting a free sandwich every time I do the 2-minute fast food receipt review. Even on my free sandwich, I know what they pay for ingredients, and my finished meal costs less. Am I working for my 3 discount? Is my review really worth that? Or are the masses subsidizing my meal, and the system would collapse if everyone were as stingy as me? Who knows? Who cares? I feel like I've killed a Tamagotchi. That's not animal cruelty. This ain't theft. It just don't feel like it's supposed to be this way. Story 6. Pay debts you are disputing through bank automatic check feature. I was arguing with a health insurance company over a charge for 4 drugs. I knew they had overcharged me by about $300, but it was going to take a while to sort out. The whole amount was close to $3,000. So what I did was set up a check to be sent through my bank for a quarter every 3rd day until the amount would be paid off. After receiving about a month worth of checks, they called me and said that they had written the debt off, and please don't send any more checks because it costs us more to process them than it does to take the money. As long as you're making a regular payment, they cannot report you to the credit bureau, and it will not hurt your credit. The automatic check catch feature is free through my bank, so I did not even have to pay the postage. They automatically generate the check and send it to the recipient. Story 7. UK here. Driving in the bus lane when it's not bus lane time. The road near me give the whole lane over to buses from 1600-18-00. I drive home from work at about 15:45 in the bus lane, past miles of queuing traffic. Story 8. Some charities are becoming debt buyers, people who buy delinquent debts like collection companies. They buy the medical debts or student loans for pennies on the dollar, and then abolish them so people are free of those bills. Story 9. The hole wears safety vest and carry a clipboard to go anywhere for the most part is totally legal. It's not your fault if they don't tell you you're not allowed to enter. Story 10. DoorDash other delivery would mess up my order, but if an entire item wasn't missing, they do a tiny partial refund even though I didn't receive the food I ordered, forcing me to pay for food I didn't order. Example, I could order a cheeseburger with onion rings, bacon, barbecue sauce, and just receive a plain cheeseburger. And they'd say since it was just missing a few toppings ID, only get a couple bucks back, basically forcing me to pay full price for an item I didn't even ask for. Another example, ordering a pizza with pepperoni and jalapenos. Having arrived with only jalapenos. ID, get a $2.50 refund for a missing topping and be stuck with a pizza I didn't order. Loophole in the examples above. Rather than say my bacon cheeseburger was missing toppings, ID, just say the entire item was missing. ID, tell them I received a burger, but not the burger I ordered, which isn't lying. My bacon cheeseburger was completely missing and I got someone else's burger instead. Same with the pizza. Wasn't just missing a topping, ordered one pizza, and got something completely different. It's a different way to frame it, but it isn't dishonest, and it's important because if you got the wrong item, it's a full refund. If an item was prepared incorrectly, you get hardly anything except food you didn't ask for. Story 11, using a mix of merchandise coupons with store-specific coupons, plus rewards points and cashback apps to essentially get pricey stuff for free near free. I once got 30 worth of hair products for a $1 because of coupon stacking. Story 12, sloppy steaks. They'd say, no sloppy steaks, but they can't stop you from ordering a steak and a glass of water. Before you knew it, we were dumping that water on those steaks. The waiters were coming to try, and up we had to eat as fast as we could. Oh, I miss those nights. Story 13, go to your bank and ask what cars they have in impound. Banks don't care who is paying the loan on a vehicle or who originally started the loan, so long as it's getting paid. If some doofus took a loan on a $50,000 car, paid half of it off, and got behind on payments and got the vehicle repossessed, you could take over the payments and get a $50,000 with a huge jumpstart, like some random stranger was nice enough to pay off half your car debt. This also works on mortgages. They don't care. They just want their money back. Story 14, not really a loophole, but when you're exiting a retail business, you're under no obligation to stop and let an employee check your items and receipt. Think about it, even a police officer couldn't search you without probable cause. You can just breeze right by the person, and there's nothing they can do. The only exception to this is Costco. It's in the contract you signed when you became a member that you agree to let the door person check your items. Story 15, as I'm reaching middle age, the things that feel like they should be illegal that aren't backdoor Roth IRA contributions, selling certain stocks at a loss for tax write-off purposes, and then buying the stocks back. A lot of financial stuff is sketch, but somehow legal. Story 16, gonna preface this with my job. I drive a school bus. I overheard a conversation that fits this topic. Dear sister, you can't get her pregnant. Story 17, saying that I will not answer any questions about my medical history unless it is pertinent to the medical information that I chose to disclose in order to receive the necessary accommodations. Under HIPAA laws, non-government employers are prohibited from asking you for your medical history unless you have been diagnosed with any condition or disorder that will 75% prevent you from doing your job. In my case, I have epilepsy, and so I disclosed it and what accommodations I needed. My employer told me that they needed a doctor's note or letter regarding the diagnosis in order to approve it, and I supplied it. However, when one of the big wigs asked me for 1 year's worth of health records, I casually said, that's not pertinent to the letter that I sent in or the diagnosis that required the accommodation letter. You cannot ask me for a year's worth of records, and if you ask again, I will be on the phone with a HIPAA lawyer before you can even blink. Story 18, right now Home Depot is doing buy more, save more on Milwaukee tools, and you can buy them online and have 2 separate stores to pick them up from, so the tools you actually want you pick up at one store, then cancel the other tools you don't want at the other store, and you get the money back on them tools but still get the discount for the tools you did get. Story 19, most states have laws that if a driver with a learner's permit is driving the vehicle, a licensed driver is required to be in the front passenger seat. There is no requirement for the licensed driver to be sober. Story 20, travel hacking. Love that the credit card companies are subsidizing my travel hobby. Going to Poland in business class in barely 5 weeks for a couple hundred out of pocket. Story 21, the religious right to do things that should be illegal, like circumcision. Edit, I restore my foreskin. It helped a good bit. It feels like I was born to have a foreskin. Story 22, buying tax lien properties. TLDR, you pay the back taxes owed on a property, sometimes just a few $1,000s. And if the owner never settles up after a certain amount of time, you now own the property. Story 23, run for the office of the President of USA, become the president, and then commit crimes and become president. Either way, presidential immunity. Story 24, ordering no ice at Starbucks and asking for a cup of ice on the side. They fill your cup up all the way with no extra charge. Makes no sense. Doesn't work good for espresso drinks, but for iced coffee, cold brew, and refreshers, you're just getting double the drink for free. Story 25, the Farm Bill. I live in a super illegal state, and I have weed legally shipped, been inspected at the post office, and it always blows my mind. When I buy in a dispo, it is very hard to not immediately hide it. It might not seem like a big deal to those of you in a legal state, especially if you grew up with it being fully legal. But I served years in prison for less than a joint, so it's so mind-blowing to me. Story 26, driving in a bus lane when it isn't in operation. For example, bus lane 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. You could drive in at 12 p.m. completely legally. You blaze past heaps of traffic because people are terrified of being caught or don't bother reading signs. Story 27, if you type Jiffy Lube oil change into Google, the first result will be 50 off a Valvoline full-service oil change. I did it so many times the option stopped popping up. So I downloaded Brave browser and turned on my VPN, and voila, 50 off oil changes again. Story 28, medical bags are allowed almost anywhere. I put an EpiPen and a bunch of small items for my kids like snacks or other items I don't want to carry in it, and nothing's been removed from it, just a quick glance to make sure it's a medical bag. Story 29, in the U.S., you can take out a short-term disability insurance policy just before getting pregnant or even while you're pregnant, and then file a claim for being pregnant, get paid to be pregnant. It was not illegal in 2015 when we did it. Edit, look back and remember that our policy had to be placed for 10 months before you could use it. So it takes some planning and some luck. Story 30, stepped-up basis tax loophole. Allows heirs to inherit assets at their fair market value at the time of death, effectively avoiding capital gains taxes on appreciation that occurred during the deceased ownership. How it works: example, if someone buys stock for $100 and it's worth $1,000 at their death, the heir's cost basis is $1,000, not $100. If the heir then sells the stock for $1,000, they owe no capital gains tax because they're not considered to have made a profit. Why it's a loophole: this rule allows wealth to be passed down to heirs without paying taxes on the accumulated capital gains, potentially benefiting the wealthy who hold significant unrealized capital gains. Story 31, I work near Target and forgot to wear my all-black uniform, so I bought a black dress at Target, wore it all day at work, and returned it after work because I needed the money. Story 32, before buying pizza, I searched name of the pizza place pizza voucher, so e.g. Domino's pizza voucher or Pizza Hut pizza voucher, etc. Today, I got 40 off. Story 33, THCA. Basically, when weed isn't burned yet, it's considered THCA. When you burn it, it's now the illegal THC. I could buy literal pounds of this THC, aka weed, and have it shipped to my door in less than a week in my legal state. If you want to know more, there's plenty of subs on here about it. Story 34, in the U.S., instead of paying for health insurance, you can take a regular bank loan out equivalent to that maximum insurance payout to use to cover your insurance costs during an accident in the future. Doing so, some very interesting things happen. One, you won't get the payout denied since you control the money that you now stashed away in a separate savings account to accrue interest to pay back the loan every month. That is your monthly insurance fee. If you have financial issues and can't do it, just use the loan itself to pay every month until you get back on your feet. This is assuming you didn't use up all the money right away or that you have some left. 3, hospital fees for people who have insurance are higher than those without insurance. It's some sort of discount system they have as hospitals up these bills to milk insurance companies. Since you technically don't have insurance, your hospital bill will be considerably lower each visit. For if you manage to pay off the entire loan without having to use any of that money, take another loan, put it in the same savings account. You now are sitting on a larger pile of emergency money, half of which you already paid off, rinse and repeat. Story 35, all these folks driving around the suburbs with trucks and large SUVs that have business license plates on them for personal use. They have accountants set up a pass-through business so they can claim the state and local taxes and avoid the 10,000 SAL tax cap. Businesses can write off their vehicles when it weighs over 6,000 pounds. Bad for the rest of us taxpayers and bad for the environment. Completely legal if you ignore the personal use. Story 36, I call in every year to my internet service provider to get the new customer deals. My internet cost has gone down by $30 a month from 3 years ago for the same service. Story 37, the backdoor Roth conversion. Too high an income to contribute to a Roth IRA or deduct traditional IRA contributions? No problem. Just make a non-deductible contribution to an IRA, then immediately transfer the contribution to a Roth IRA. Bingo bango, you have $7,000 in a Roth IRA despite it being illegal to directly contribute to one. The IRS has even said that it is legal and that you can perform the conversion immediately after contributing. Story 38, for my fellow UK pals, slingshotting on a roundabout. I've cut off literally 15 minutes of traffic queuing time because no one's going all the way around on a roundabout. They're just queuing for the turn. It annoys people, but it's what's best for traffic flow. Story 39, my local phone provider charged something ridiculous like 30 interest if you didn't pay in full. 1 month I accidentally paid extra, and they gave me 30 on the overpayment. The next month, I put all my extra cash into my phone bill. It worked for a while, but they did figure it out. Story 40, incorporating your small business in a different state. One you've never even visited and never will, to get better tax benefits. It feels totally illegal, and yet somehow isn't. Story 41, not sure if it's still around, but you could use a EDU email and get Sunday ticket for like 75 off. I hadn't been to school in like 15 years, but the NFL can take the hit. Story 42, if you have, let's say, 50 on your card, but need to take out 20, but the fees cost too much, go and grab one banana for 10 cents and use cash back. I get lots of weird looks, but I haven't seen anybody else do this. Story 43, I donate a couple thousand to my congressman and senator, and they'll pass legislation such as tax deductions that saves me billions. Sometimes I just have to say I might fund a third-party candidate to split the party ticket, and they do my bidding for free. It should be illegal to pay for play, but it isn't. Signed, Big Corporate America. Story 44, I buy myself gift cards when they're on sale, is like a 25% discount for minimal effort. Most say limit 2 per customer, but they don't seem to track this. You can go back next week and buy 2 more. I will keep doing this until someone actually stops me. Story 45, if you're a bar and you don't want to pay the tab, you can just your pants, and they'll kick you out without asking you for any money. You just need to stash a backpack in the alley nearby with a clean pair of pants and any other cleaning supplies you may need, including a bag to store the poo pants. And this is important because you'll do this so many times it's cheaper to just have a designated pair of poo pants also. If you're strategic about the food you eat, you'll find yourself having an easy time cleaning or a horrible time. Avoid spicy foods. Story 46, long-term capital gains tax rates. Argue all you want over whether it's fair to tax wealth. Compounding is an exponential function. Once you have sufficient capital, being allowed to defer taxes indefinitely on exponential growth of wealth is a cheat code. Story 47, slingshotting on a roundabout. Using the empty lane on the lead up and going all the way around before taking the exit you wanted, thus not waiting in a long queue. Story 48, buying THCA at a gas station. It's just weed, but with a different label since there's a giant loophole in hemp legislation. It seems to have become a thing almost overnight for me. Dispensaries opening everywhere now. I don't have to drive to Michigan anymore. Story 49, TLDR, you can bill a doctor for your time. I have narcolepsy, and 18 years ago, when we were getting it all sorted out, I had to go to the neurologist every month to check in and re-up my prescription of controlled substance. So they would only do 1 month at a time. Literally every single time I showed up on time and waited 1 hour in the waiting room. Then they'd put me in the private room where you sit on paper and ID wait usually another half hour to hour before the DR would come in and spend 6 minutes with me. Every time I left the office, I paid my copay, and every time they made me sign a paper that stated the DRS time is valuable, and if a patient is more than 5 minutes late for an appointment, they'd be billed accordingly. This detail matters for later. I'm pretty patient, so I just let it slide for a while. Then one day my insurance changed. I gave them my new insurance info when I paid my copay after my visit. Then a couple months later, they sent me a bill for something like $3,000. Turns out they mistakenly tried billing my old insurance for 1 visit, which obviously didn't work. So then they tried to get me to pay the absolutely insane amount for the DR, 6 minutes of time. This was their mistake, and I wasn't going to pay it, but they weren't going to let it go. They told me they would send me to collections. So I strung them along for several more months to avoid collections, and while I was doing that, I very carefully and accurately tracked every minute I waited past my scheduled appointment times. Remember, I went in every 4 weeks. Then I wrote them a letter that was very directly modeled after the DRS time is valuable letter. It stated that my time is valuable and that starting 10 minutes after my appointment time, a doctor is considered late for our appointment, and that I would be billing for my time. I stated that I was going to graciously forgive the previous year of tardiness, but itemized all of my time he had wasted for the last 3 to 4 months. I came up with a personal hourly rate that made my bill to them about $4,500. They immediately dropped the charges, and miraculously, I never waited more than about 15 minutes again. Story 50, shop without membership at Costco by using a Costco gift card, Venmo, a friend to load, 1UP, etc. Shop at Sam's Club online with a Walmart gift card. You can also use the pharmacies without membership if needed. Story 51, my university email still works. Apparently, they never deactivate them. Most student discounts just require a university email as proof, hence, never-ending student discounts. Story 52, when having to create new passwords and you can't use the 5 most recent ones. Keep creating new passwords until your original password is no longer in the 5 most recently used. Change your password back to the original. Story 53, use my credit card to buy my house. got the 5 cashback deal, and used the bank mortgage to pay off the credit card before any interest happened. Has to pre-warn the card company for such a big payment. But they took it. Story 54, I got the COVID vaccine a couple months early because I'm on the spectrum, and I was able to have my sister and brother-in-law get it early as my caretakers. I left my hair unbrushed, wore a Minecraft t-shirt and a pair of headphones, and didn't make eye contact with anyone just to really sell it honestly. It was really relaxing. If there were a great demand for them or a shortage in my state, I never would have done it. But since I wasn't taking anything from someone who needed it more than me, I figured why not? Story 55, one loophole that's totally legal but feels shady is using a dynasty trust to pass wealth to your grandkids tax-free, letting you dodge estate taxes in a way that seems too good to be true. Story 56, civil process server here. The individual I positively identified as defendant refused to accept documents, dropped documents in their site, informed them they were served drop serve. I know I got the right person, my affidavit says so. But with no video evidence, just audio, it never fails to feel like I've just committed a felony. It's never gone badly on the office end, and a judge always approves it. Story 57, until it was recently, signing up for Social Security with a spousal benefit, canceling it, and your spouse continuing to receive the spousal benefit with no penalty. Story 58, in western cities of the U.S., there are often commute lanes designated for certain hours that run down the center edge of the freeway, but these lanes have to be correctly marked with signage, both of signposting street diamonds on the asphalt. But the same commute areas are often under construction or repair, and if the signs therefore are down or incomplete, then it's open season really on the otherwise respected commute. Story 59, there's a lot of posts in here with examples of people lying to get free things, discounts, and special treatment, which kind of seems against the intent of the post. Story 60, in the UK, the OL roundabout slingshot maneuver. To explain for benighted souls out with God's own country, sometimes when approaching a roundabout there will be 2 lanes, one to turn left and one to go straight across the roundabout or to turn right over the roundabout, remember. We drive on the left. On occasion, the lane to turn left will be most popular and will start to back up, often quite far down the road, and the other lane will be empty. If you feel like you don't want a cue to turn left, and sometimes I do, and sometimes I don't, you can legally go right up the right-hand lane, all the way around the roundabout, the slingshot, and exit at what was the original left turn, thereby bypassing the entire queue. This is legal, however, it is also action. But sometimes needs must, and the devil take the hindmost. Good day. Story 61, using your stock value as collateral for a loan, then using the loan to buy more stocks, and using the dividends to pay back the loan, 100 free money, and not a penny of it is taxed. Story 62, Home Depot will take any return as long as it appears to be sealed up in the original box. Also, the dinged and dented appliances are extremely discounted and 100 functional. Story 63, when I was buying a lot more Magic cards, I found a tax loophole. My LGS has a program in place for fostered youth where they just give them bulk commons and uncommons to build decks with, and then they heavily discount singles for them as well. And one day, I asked my store owner what the deal was, where the uncommons were coming from. He said they're donated constantly, and that if I have bulk to get rid of, not to sell it, because he'll give me a massive deal for donation. The guy pays $151,000. If he picks up any card and it's uncommon, he values it there. If there are no uncommons, he values it at $101,000. At the time, I had a lot, and we didn't bother counting. He said it looked like around 25,000 cards, and I agreed. So he gave me $375 fair market value for the donation of goods to youth recreation. That was a very nice bonus on my taxes, and continues to be a solid bonus on my taxes, though not nearly that high, as I'm donating annually now. Usually I have a few thousand cards to donate by tax season. Story 64, at most venues around my area, a bottle or cup of water could cost you $5 or more. I mentioned my area part because in some states it's actually illegal to charge over a certain amount for water, but I was at a concert one night and just asked for a cup of ice at the bar to cool down. They don't typically charge people for that, so it was free. I then went into the bathroom and put the bottom of the cup in the sink filled with hot water so the ice would melt to get the cup of water I actually wanted. I've been doing it ever since, and I have never been charged once for it. Story 65, I don't really know if this counts, but getting fed in prison without any paying and stuff, or you poor or don't have the money to take care of yourself. Well, then here's our 11 options: a public showering for nudism enthusiasts, a public meet updates with free food, and a place for socializing underground job market. Feels really weird. Story 66, local gas stations installed automatic tellers to ring up items. Found out my 12-pack of locally brewed that normally sells for $23.99 when rung up at the automatic teller shows as a 6-pack Sam Adams for $9. 99. It's been 3 years. Story 67. Well, I didn't use it, but there was this guy who got convicted of 34 felonies but still found a way to run for president and won. Don't believe me? Google it. Story 68. That I can just drive to Delaware and buy things tax-free. Recently bought a new phone, and it would have cost me more in tax to buy the phone in PA than it would in gas to get me to and from Delaware and buy it for sticker price. Story 69. Really got to follow me on this one. It is not illegal to throw away unopened mail. Why would you throw away unopened mail, one may ask? Well, if you see some other comments about jury duty. See what I'm getting at? If you open it, you know what it is. Sure, you may know what it is before you opened it, but hey, it's unopened, so how did I know what was in it? Isn't illegal, but a lot of other people feel that it is LOL. Story 70. I just went to a drug rep meeting, free, continuing education and food, and I asked if the product they're pushing could be removed from the special box to be placed in the freezer. The goal would be to split the product between multiple hospitals, split the price. They said, no, but if the box becomes damaged for some reason, we can send you another box. Story 71. Whenever we go to dinner somewhere new, my wife tells them it's one of our birthdays or our anniversary. Often they'll give us complimentary drinks or dessert LOL. Story 72. If you're approaching a roundabout and want to turn left, and there's a large queue in the left-hand lane to do so, get in the right-hand lane at the roundabout and just go all the way around the roundabout before exiting at the initial left-hand exit. Story 73. Until California did away with the HC subsides, I paid 1 month for health insurance for years because the rate was based on my low AGI, not my net worth.